My name is BB King. That's actually my name. Brian B is my middle initial. It's real. I'm BB Hacking on Discord. I'm a pen tester. I've been pen testing primarily web apps since about 2008, which was the year that PCI started to require pen testing. So I know we like to hate on compliance frameworks because compliance isn't pen testing, and I totally agree. But it's how I got my job. So I love PCI. And it's also don't forget, it's a little cudgel, right? Like, I want you to fix it, but also the auditor is going to make you look bad if you don't. So they are different. Compliance, security, totally different things, but they work together, right? Don't they work together? So I've been at Black Hills InfoSec for about 10 years now, doing consulting, pen testing as a consultant, which is a whole lot nicer, in my opinion, than pen testing internally for a corporation, because when I'm finished with the test, we write the report, we give the customer the report, we say, hey, do you want a phone call? We'll go through this and highlight the things and answer questions you've got. And then when we're done with that call, the chances that they're going to call me back 4 months later and ask me about something I wrote on page 56 of that report are very small. But in corporate security, that happened all the time. So it's a nice little freedom thing. I'm a big fan of making bridges with the developers. There's, I think the animosity sometimes we have between developers and security people doesn't serve anybody. Everybody's smart in their own way. If you don't think that's true, just try believing it for a while, act as if it's true for a while, and the world will brighten up a little bit for you. So I'm going to talk about JQ a little bit here. Typically, if you've been to one of my 1 hour long talks before, you might know that I try to cram too much stuff in, and so I have to talk really fast and skim over things. I've tried to adjust here, and so I'm trying to cover a lot less this time. I got 25 minutes. I'm trying to give you just an introduction, just enough to make you interested enough to try it when you get home. We'll see how that goes. So JQ, we're going to step back for a second. Well, you all know what JSON is, right? JSON, JavaScript object notation. That's enough for right now. So take a step back. We're going to set the stage. Why do we care about JQ and JSON anyway? There's this thing called the Unix philosophy, and it's been phrased in different ways over the years. This version I found from 1994 is my favorite concise version. It says, write programs that do one thing and do it well. Write programs to work together, and always remember that your program's output is somebody else's input. This is primarily like command line programs, right? And then write programs to handle text streams, because text streams are a universal interface. If you're outputting text in some consistent way, then there are other tools built for Unix that follow this philosophy that make it easy for you to manipulate those things and transform them and extract what's interesting to you, summarize that data, do all sorts of things. If you don't do this yourself a lot, this is when you see a big long command line, there's this command, pipe that command, pipe that command. That's what they're doing here. They're taking the output of one program, using it as the input for another program, manipulating it, and trying to extract the interesting things or summarize the interesting things all at once. And I'm going to walk you through doing that just to show you how incredibly cool it is. So this is how things were built. Since 1994 and long earlier, from the early days of Unix, like the Dennis Ritchie days of Unix and Multics and all that stuff, this is how we did stuff before we had mouses and windows and buttons. And then in 2008, JavaScript happened. And the developers started with JavaScript to make the UI for web apps a little more interesting, a little more dynamic. And that was pretty cool. I think that was a great use of JavaScript. But somehow we just couldn't stop. And it's everywhere now. JavaScript is absolutely everywhere. It's the same weird thing as USB, right? Like USB wasn't a thing, and then it was a thing. Like at one point, if I remember correctly, Apple got rid of their other buses and replaced them with USB just flat out. Apple, to their credit, they value backward compatibility way less than most other vendors, so they move things forward a little bit faster. I credit Apple with getting us to the USB standard a little bit quicker. But then the USB standard, what even is that? How many connectors are there for USB? And now, the point I'm getting to, we use USB as a power source. It was never meant to be a power source. JavaScript was never meant to write applications in. They both work, and that's what we're living with right now. So don't fight it too hard, but just understand that this is not how it was meant to be. So we might need some tools to help us around with that. So since 2008, the very idea of output from a program has changed. It's not just text is the best thing anymore. We have more processing power. That comes into play too, right? Our computers are faster. Our storage is much less expensive. There are lots of reasons, lots of actually good reasons for this. So you can pick on it all you want, and that's a lot of fun to do. But this is how it is. So JSON is kind of, it is one of the key standard formats that you'll see for input and output now. Text is still there, but it's not always the primary thing. It's easier to represent complex data forms in JSON than it is as just plain text. That's obvious, right? There's a benefit there. So JQ is the tool that I have found that gets me back the closest to that Unix philosophy. It lets me take something that is complex and difficult to parse. It lets me pull out the things that are important to me that I want to play with, and gets me back. It gets me that exact same feeling as when I've got a really cool command line that's like 400 characters long and does exactly what I want it to do. I feel like I've used a computer when that happens, right? So this JQ will get us there as well. So here's an example of the kind of thing that you might do following the Unix philosophy. So we want to know what are the 5 most visited URLs on my website. And I'm going to look at the log files from my web server, and this is what those are. So I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure what format that thing's in. I don't have a tool that's just going to do it for me. I need to build this myself. So how do I do that? I do it by experimenting. First, I look at the log file to see what's in it, and then I play with the Linux program called cut to find the field that I want. Cut will take a string and split it up basically on spaces, and then gives you each little thing indexed by how far into that thing it was. So first, I'm gonna guess that maybe it's the 4th field. And nope, that's the timestamp. Okay, maybe it's the 6th field. No, not quite. Okay, 7, that's it. So I didn't know to begin with. This didn't just come to me like the Mozart music. I dug around and I found it. All right, so now I have the list of all the URIs that were visited on my website. Now what? Now I need to count the unique values. And to use these tools to do that, I need to sort it first. And if you're just interested in getting Unix command lines going, I'm going to give you something that you will copy and paste and use in almost every single one of them in just a second here. So there's a Unix program called sort, which does what it sounds like it does. It sorts things. And then there's another one called uniq. And uniq-c, so uniq by itself, if you don't know commands, is going to take a list of values and return only the unique things. So it removes duplicates. Uniq-c, C is count. So this tells you how many times each thing appeared before it got removed. So it's still, each value still only shows up one time, but there's a number before it that says how many times it was in the original thing. And now we can use sort again. Can you see this? So sort-nr. So sort pipe uniq-c pipe sort-nr. That's it. That's the thing you're going to use over and over again. So we're going to sort. We're going to put numbers. How many times did each thing show up? And then make that unique again. And then we're going to sort numerically reversed -nr. And we get the most common ones up at the top. And then I'm going to use head, the head program. And I'm going to say -n5, the number of lines from the head of the output I want you to show me is 5. So this is what we end up with. And this is split up on multiple lines so you can read it a little bit easier. We cat the access log. Don't let people tell you not to cat your files on the command line. Right? It's not cool. It's not the right way to do it. But it's the easier way to do it. And it's fine. So we cat the access log. We cut it with the delimiter of spaces. We take the 7th field. We sort that. We unique count it. We sort numerically reverse. And we take the top 5. That's our answer. And I hope that feels kind of cool. Maybe some of you that's pretty obvious, like you would have known that right away. It's a simple example. But we just used a computer to do stuff that isn't like, it's my address book. You could do that somewhere else. This is a cool way of using a computer to do very computery things. That's the Unix philosophy. Now let's do it with JSON. So JSON, here's, if you've seen me before, you know how much I love JSON Web Tokens. They're JSON objects of a sort. So here we're going to extract the middle part of the JSON Web Token, and we're going to base64 decode it, and we get this. And this is all one line. See, here's my prompt, and this is wrapping onto the second line. So not only is there a lot of data there, it's also all on one line. So how am I going to get, if I wanted to get the profile image, which is this last part here, how would I do that? Well, I could go back to cut and sort and all those things, but this is not going to be consistent from file to file. The information in a JSON file isn't necessarily ordered. It doesn't have to be ordered. and it wasn't built to be processed that way. So we need something else. Guess what we need? We need JQ. JQ, like a lot of things, it makes it very easy for you to learn how to use it. You don't have to install anything. It's probably pre-installed on whatever Linux-like operating system you're using. But you don't have to do that. You can do it online. It makes it very, very simple to play with these things. I have to be upfront with you that JQ is it's probably like 85% syntax. If you've anybody ever written a program in Perl? More than I thought. Very good. Anybody ever written a regular expression? More of you. Okay. So have you written a regular expression that did stuff you didn't expect it to do? Have you written one and come back to it 4 months later and you can't figure out what it's supposed to do? But, oh, I think it still works, right? JQ is a lot like that. The syntax is hard to process visually, and that was like always the complaint about Perl. Like Perl, they say Perl programs are they're write only, like you can't read them. They look like line noise for old things. JQ is the exact same way. So it works on the meaning and the structure of the JSON data, not just delimiters, not just number of characters or special characters. So it is awkward at first. I can't help you with that. You're going to have to struggle through this, and I hope that this and the lab will help you to take those first steps, and I want it to kind of whet your appetite to keep going. I'm showing you just the basics. It can do so much more than what I'm going to show you here. So a couple of operations before I get into the demo here. We can extract data from a JSON object by using the name that that thing has in the JSON and putting a dot in front of it. If we just type, dot, the name of the thing, and pass that to JQ with the input, it's going to extract that one field and show us that. Things nest the way you might expect. So if you want to get the city out of an address object, it would be .address.city, because that nesting happens. You can extract arrays of things, so not just strings, by adding brackets at the end. You can create arrays, which is a slightly different operation, by wrapping the thing in brackets. You don't have to follow this all clearly in your head. You can create objects with braces. People say curly braces. If it's curly, it's a brace. If it's square, it's a bracket. You don't have to say all those extra words. And you pipe things with a pipe, just like you did on a Unix command line. Inside JQ, pipe works exactly like the pipe you're familiar with. There's a cheat sheet on jqplay.org that's where I pulled this stuff from. What I just described to you is summarized a little more concisely here. One thing I'll tell you now that's maybe like slightly advanced, but is going to help you while you're experimenting. The question mark here means if I asked for the .foo object and it's not there, don't fall on the ground and cry. Keep going. This means if it exists, give it to me. If not, just keep going. And that's a problem you'll find often while you're first writing your first JQ scripts is, oh, that value is present in most of the objects, but not all of them. So your whole thing's going to fail because it's missing in one place. So if you see that happening and you're not sure why, add a question mark and see if that solves the problem. Experimenting is good. Experimenting is the way to go. Failing is how you improve here. And this is one of those ways that you can just fail in private at your own command line and no one will ever know. So now we're going to do the lab, which is, let me change my, there we go. That wasn't what I wanted to do. 1 second, I got to change the screen mirroring here. This to be. All right, so the Obsidian Vault, I'll just show you this real quickly, and I'm going to copy and paste from it so I don't have to type things. This is what you've got. This is available in the Discord to download, and you can look at it yourself. So we got capabilities here. We talked about some of these things, the in words, how these things might work, and then a few examples of how to actually do them. So I'm also a big Juice Shop fan. So we're going to use, Juice Shop has a products list that is presented as a JSON file, so we're going to use that as our input. And if you want to play with curl, you can do that to get that product list. If you click on this, it opens and tells you how to do it. I love Obsidian for hiding little spoilers like that. I use it for all my classes. So that's what that is about. So we're going to go to jqplay.org. .lang, jqlang.org, sorry. And if we go down here, You can put in the URL. So you can feed it JSON directly, or you can give it a URL from which it will retrieve its own JSON. So I got the URL of gshop in here. And what we see over here is not just the output. If you just put that in and click away, it'll send the request, but you won't see anything happen. So if you put a dot here, that's when you get this output. Dot is your first JQ command. So if you use it for nothing else, dot is pretty print my JSON for me. So the JSON is normally one line. This will print it nested like this, so it's easier to read. If you get nothing else out of this, now you can read your JSON data much easier. And if you want to process it manually or for whatever reason, this alone is reason enough to start looking at JQ. So apart from that, so let's look at what we have here. We have a JSON object. It's wrapped in braces, so the outermost thing is an object, not an array. It's got a couple of key value pairs here, and then there's a data array. And these are each of the products. So we got information about each product. Maybe I don't want this outer level thing here. I don't care about status success. I just want the data. So the name of this is data. So if I type dot data, and run that, you see it's gotten rid of the status, the success. So we're narrowing down into the things that we're interested in. If I want to get just the data array, not all the stuff that's in it, we can add this. So now you see the structure's changed a little bit. So initially the first character was curly brace, and then we had a square bracket, and then we had our stuff in it. Now we just have a bunch of curly braces. So we've gotten rid of that array. 5 minutes. Oh, I'm going to have to, I thought I could do it. I thought I was going to end quick. Tool shed, not training. You got me. You got me. All right, so next up, we're going to we want just the IDs. So we extracted just the IDs if those were interesting to us for some reason. There are other ways of doing that. If we want to sort that, there's a quick way to do it, which is this. I think it's a quick way. There's preferences. It's very Perl-ish. There's more than one way to do it. So this gives me a list of all the things that are sorted. Here's another way to do that same thing, if you like to type more. You can do this and get the exact same output. So different syntax gets you different things. Now what if I wanted to get just the price of something? I can select, so we start to get into like, wow, it looks like SQL now, right? We're going to select where the ID equals 1, I want to get the price. Okay, that's good, but what product was that? I want to get the whole thing about that product. That was the wrong one. I'm going to keep going here. What's the most expensive item in the list? You can pipe it to the max command. So give it a field that is an array, and it'll give you the maximum one. You can get the whole object max by price. So what's the most expensive item in this list? It cost $1,000, and it's the Permafrost 2020 edition. So we got all that information out of here. Imagine if you had to do that some other way. How would you have found this without something like JQ? It's super tedious. I've done it. I resisted learning JQ for the longest time because the syntax was intimidating. And I can't tell you how much time I've wasted pretty printing, scrolling through, finding, replacing, cutting things out. It's not worth your time. The last thing I'm going to show you here is using AI here. I have very mixed feelings about AI, primarily because if you rely on it too much, I think it can diminish your own confidence in yourself, but it has its place, and this is a wonderful place for it. So I like Perplexity for this. I'm going to paste this in. What this is, hey Perplexity, what JQ command will find the largest ID value in this JSON? And I paste in a sample of the JSON here. With a paid version, you can paste in longer strings, but this is just a little bit. So see, it's kind of a mess. And I run this, and here it goes. Map ID max. And then it explains why that worked. So when I recommend that you use AI, the fundamental thing underneath that is I want you to take time to understand why it told you what it told you, and form an opinion whether that's a good thing or not. Did it give you good advice? Is there another way of doing it? Understand what it gave you so that maybe next time you have the same problem, you don't have to ask AI again. You'll remember. So use it as a tool just like you use everything else as a tool. Don't rely on it too much. So hopefully, you've seen some cool stuff with JSON and JQ. Maybe you're motivated to play with this stuff when you get home, and I hope the lab I put in the chat will help you get your bearings to start off with. Did I make it? 1:20. I got 2 minutes left. Any questions? Yes?
You kind of answered this with perplexity, but I find myself with like complex nested JSON, and it's like I want this piece that's an unknown number of levels down that's the name of whatever object.
Yeah.
Do you have a good workflow for understanding the path just well enough to get what I want without having to like?
Yeah. So the question is, when you have things that are deeply nested, how do you find those with this syntax? Because the address example I had, if you have an address object that has like a street in it, it's just .address.street. But if that's 7 levels deep, how do you find that? And the answer is, when the AI gives you an answer, work to understand how that worked, so that you understand the syntax, and you'll get there. And it will be painful, and it won't work the first time, just like regular expressions don't work the first time. It's the exact same mindset. You've got to have that experiment there, know what the output should look like, so that you know when you've got it right. And then once you've got it right, take some time and think, why did that work but the other one didn't?
I actually start doing a combination of getting down to one record with JQ, and then start going back to old school text file to parse it further to get.
Right, so you can use JQ, yeah. You can use JQ just to extract the chunk that has what you want and then go somewhere else to go the rest of the way. But if you're adventurous, you can go all the way with JQ. Anything else? Other questions? One more question.
Is there a equivalent of JQ for something like YAML and TOML and some other formats that you remember?
Is there a JQ for YAML and TOML and other formats? I don't know. Is there, Phil?
It's called YQ.
YQ for YAML. Yeah, good one. Thanks, Phil. All right. Are we done? Do I need to be done?
You have 5 minutes for questions.
Oh,
So the 25 is supposed to be the end of the presentation, then you have 5 minutes for questions.
awesome. I'm going to take credit for doing it then. All right. Any other questions? Other questions? Yes.
I have questions about the lab demos you didn't cover. 5 minutes to cover.
Questions about the lab demos I didn't cover. Those are the more complicated ones. Well, some of them actually have, it's different ways to get the same result. And some of them are, some of those I made are output from Perplexity, and some of them are me figuring out how to do it the same way. So that one that I showed you where I said maybe you like to do more typing, Perplexity gave me that one, because it doesn't have fingers. It can type as long as it wants, right? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your time. I hope this was useful. Enjoy the rest of your conference.